Joining me now is Michael Weiner. I want Michael to respond to the interview I just had with Mitch Wexler, and let's get a feel for where things are going. I want to put that tweet back up there by President Trump, Logan. This was the shocker today. He was busy telling Megyn Kelly 24 hours ago, less than 24 hours ago, about 24 hours ago right now, that we got the best economy ever. Energy prices are coming down. No, I don't see that. He talked about how great things are. Well, then he put this out today. I want Michael Weiner to respond to this, as well as some of the things that Mitch and I were just talking about. Here again is what President Trump put out today. The U.S. Supreme Court was given the wrong numbers. The unwind in the event of a negative decision on tariffs would be including investments to be made and return of funds in excess of $3 trillion. It would not be possible to ever make up that kind of a drubbing. That would truly become an insurmountable national security event and devastating to the future of our country, possibly non-sustainable. Michael, welcome back to the broadcast. What do you make of that? Have you ever seen a president put out that, we can't pay back this $3 trillion? It'll be a major national security event, unsurmountable. I mean, have you ever seen that? I mean, isn't that almost reckless for a president to put out? Does he think that somehow is going to persuade the Supreme Court to rule the right way on tariffs?
Well, I think there's part of it that's over dramatic. I do think that. I think Trump, literally inherited a lot of garbage when he got into office, and some of it literally is going off too well. I think I said in a show a long time ago when these tariffs started that the first time Trump was in office and he pulled tariffs off, he caught everybody off guard. Mexico, Canada, people couldn't make deals fast enough because he caught them off guard, literally. But this time they were ready. There was conversations throughout the election about tariffs. All these countries were not rolling over, and legitimately it dragged on, and that caused problems within the economy. Right now, I think that, what he's saying right now is trying to salvage what he thinks might be a devastation and I agree with him in what he's saying in some respect, that, this should have been thought out a lot better, because if in fact they get away with it, it is true. There's a lot of factors to look at here. It's like your last guest said. I mean, first of all, the debt that we will have will be insurmountable. It's overwhelming, and adding to that debt immediately, as well as finding a way to give that money back. We have to give that money back. The only two ways to do it is to print money, which is inflationary, destroying the dollar, or secondarily, to turn around and sell bonds, which who the heck is going to want to buy them? I mean, go sell them. Good luck. There's a lot of major problems here. That's what we're going into. This is a dilemma. It's not a good one. I think that there's been a lot of overdrama. I think that what the president has to look at is not what's going to be great, and I think some of the things he did, and we both like Trump, but are going to happen a year from now. We need to know about things now, right now. I'm preparing for 2026, and I have been preparing for more than a year. Actually, I've been preparing since about 1992. I read the book by Logan. Look up what year The Economic Earthquake by Larry Burkett was written. Look that up, please. The Economic Earthquake. What year was that written? The Economic Earthquake by Larry Burkett. Because that's the book I read. And that's the book that set me on a path of being one that hates debt. And praise the Lord, our organization, organization media outlet here is debt-free. 1991. That's about what I thought. I got married. I married your mother in February of 91. And I bought my first precious metals in about February of 1993. And I read that book, and I'm thinking I probably read it in 92. Because in 93 is when I bought my first precious metals. And I really, after reading that book by Larry Burkett, started reading everything I could on the economy collapsing and 1929 and the Weimar Republic in Germany and all that. And it changed my life. And I hate debt. And praise the Lord, because of the fact our organization is debt-free, we're not servicing debt and interest. Now, we have to generate cash flow to keep everybody paid and all the bandwidth bill and IT bills and insurance and the utility bills to keep all the servers cool 24/7. But if I was servicing debt, probably wouldn't make it. And a lot of groups aren't going to make it. And Worldview Tube will be around when a lot of the others are gone under.
But I've been preparing for since '92 for what's coming. But I've been preparing for the last year or two aggressively at cutting costs anywhere I can, including, as I said during that last interview, even if it's spending some money to build our own server systems so that we can dump paying another company to do it. We'll do it ourselves. And we've cut several $1,000s a month out of our budgets. But we need that savings to offset other things that are going up, like our utility bills, our ACs, and insurance, and all this other stuff, right? So the point I'm at is I think 2026 could be a tough year. And Mitch is saying it's all unwinding now. I think this whole thing may collapse on Trump's watch. And it could be derivatives that the banks are holding. It could be these fraudulent school bonds that his buddy says is not 5.1 trillion, it's over 17 trillion. It could be the AI bubble, and now we see that the guy from The Big Short, Michael Burry, is shorting the market on that. I guess. I mean, it could be war. Look at World War III, which that could be used to cover a lot of this in Europe or America. This guy writes, "Watching The Big Short in 2025 is deja vu." The 2008 housing bubble feels eerily relevant with today's sky-high stock and housing valuations. In '08, the crisis stemmed from a massively overvalued housing market fueled by risky subprime loans, tax regulation, and greed. Banks bundled junk mortgages into safe securities, creating the massive housing bubble. Nothing has really changed. It's just a facade. Today, the Fed is warning about over-leveraged hedge funds. Michael Burry is betting on Palantir dropping in price with puts worth nearly $1 billion, 66% of his firm's AUM. Stocks are screaming overvalued in every way. The S&P 500 is 63% above long-term trend. The Warren Buffett indicator is at a record 217% plus. Goldman and Morgan Stanley predict 20% correction soon. Housing is bubbly and overvalued from 2020 free money, low interest rates, and bidding wars. Sales are crashing while prices stall. Experts call the market frozen with subdued growth, not as leveraged as '08, but affordability's tanked with higher rates. Speculative bubbles, AI tech stocks now versus housing then. Many experts warning of crash with scary similarities. Fed stopping QT and beginning easing amid softening economy. 1 million plus fewer jobs created in 24 than stated by the Biden administration's previous 2024's fake numbers. Falling new job numbers for 2025. Growing repo market, borrowing from the desperate banks again. Volatility rising on potential meltdowns. 2025's mess is more driven by toxic derivatives in the stock market, lax regulation, and greed. It's just a different flavor of 2008. Michael?
Well, Brandon, we went over some of this over a year ago. We talked about derivatives. I said directly that the derivative market is so oversold worldwide at all these banks that if it goes down, it could create a world economic depression. We talked about that. We talked about the fact of getting pressed, just as your former guest stated. What's going on here? We talked about the fact that the stock market is oversold, that it's been a heyday for way too long, and it's way oversold, way overpriced. And we constantly go against the situation of people telling us, well, as we do, we're going to go talk to our financial guy and gal, and they're going to give us. I'm going to tell you, when 90% of the worldview people told us in 2009 and 10, and a lot of your friends that we had to help, I said this to them. They said this to me almost verbatim. I said, how hard was it to get in touch with your financial person when the market was collapsing? It was impossible. By the time I got through to them, I had already lost 30 to 40% of my money. And I said, here's exactly what he told you. And they said, what's that? And I said, hang on, it's going to come back. The question is, what if it doesn't? Money markets, the funds will not come back. Funds do not come back. You don't own a stock. Misconception, you don't own a stock. And additionally, to the people out there who consider themselves debt-free but derive most of their income from stocks and all the rest of it that they have coming in. When you talk about rental property for any person, they're a good investment, okay, because it's driving income to you. But the biggest problem that every person has is, first of all, owning something that they control, that they can get liquid in without question, but more importantly, understanding the fact that if most of their money is tied into these financial advisory positions, and the market collapses in 1933, people did not have mortgages on their homes. People had no mortgages. People didn't have debt. There was no credit cards. You paid for what you got. Why did people not have the money to pay for their homes? Why did they lose their homes? Because they were all crazily in the market, and by the time they could try to get to their money, they couldn't, and they lost their homes, and they moved into the parks and everywhere else in the city. You've got to understand right now, we warn people, we tell people what's going to be happening. You've got to be able to balance yourself. That's exactly what that gentleman was talking about in your last interview. And that is the fact of what is better. What can you do? And the reality is what you can do is be one-dimensional. The one that wins and loses is not me. It's not your financial person. It is you. And make sure that what you own is literally available to you when you need it, and not having to say, Mother, may I, to anybody to get liquid when you have to. I'm done.
So what do you make of, I asked him about it, I'm going to ask you too. What do you make of Trump's idea of the 50-year mortgage?
I think it's ridiculous.
Me too.
First of all, it's ridiculous. When you run the numbers out into the future, I think it's just a play on words, quite honestly. Because when you run the numbers, you really are not building equity. Like at the end of a mortgage, and a 30-year mortgage, if you play it right, you can build equity, you can make double payments. In a 50-year mortgage, the last 15, 20 years are literally all interest. It's really eating into you. I understand what he's trying to do by trying to bring the housing market back. I think a lot of that could be done with regulations. I think there should be the limitations on how much realtors can make. That'll sit back and make them be more concerning about jacking up prices. I think appraisers should be checked out for what they're doing of jacking up appraisals to play into the system. I was just involved with somebody who bought a house, and when the realtor called me and was asking my opinion, because she handles rental properties, and I talked to her about that for myself in the past. Let me tell you something. The big problem it smelled is the house was overappraised. The people buying it had no cash. And right now they got it. They got a ridiculous mortgage. And guess what? I bet you this thing goes upside down within 90 days. And why did it happen? Because the appraiser wanted to get paid, the real estate agents all wanted their money, and nobody cares. So there's a broken system in the real estate market, and you live in a Valhalla there, where you live in Tennessee, because it's a great area where you have affordable housing and good income combined. You can have affordable housing in Arkansas, but you don't necessarily have the good income to go with it, which is important. But what the other gentleman was saying, what he's absolutely correct, this idea of 50-year mortgages, this idea of understanding the fact that when this situation comes down, and I don't believe it's going to be favorable on these tariffs, nobody's warning you. The only people who've been warning you literally is us. The gentleman you had on before, Brandon House, who always tries to warn people ahead of time over the years, repeatedly Worldview Weekends ahead of the curve on that, on every single aspect. And what we've been talking here at Swiss America, everybody thinks we want you to put all your money in gold. We want you to be balanced. It's what we're talking about, balance. Make sure what you have, what your assets are balanced and controlled by you, that you don't have to go elsewhere. And in this environment, when 2008 happened, Brandon, how come so many people got caught literally with their finger in the cookie jar? How come that happened? Because that happened because they didn't want to listen. We weren't promising them things. We were trying to protect them. Everybody else was promising them. Greed stepped in, and guess what? A lot of people went back to work, and I know you had friends that did. I know you did.
Yep, absolutely. Well, all I can say is I don't give financial advice. I give financial opinion. People need to understand. I personally, my opinion, think this system is a house of cards. I think you see guys that predicted The Big Short, Michael Burry. I'm not endorsing the film, folks. I'm not promoting the film. I'm not saying go see the film. I think there's some pretty tough language in there. I don't know about, anything else much about, but I've seen a lot of clips of this film. And you can see a lot of it actually on YouTube and Twitter and without even having to watch the whole film. You could just get an education by watching a few of the clips. But this guy predicted this, and he ended up making, I think, a lot of money from that. But very few people saw it coming. How many people are talking the way we are, Michael, in closing? How many people are talking about the fraud, what are reportedly to be the fraudulent school bonds of $17 trillion across the country? How many are talking about the banks holding derivatives? How many are talking about bail-ins? I mean, Mitch said last year they passed a law that allows, the courts are allowing for a bail-in so they could take a big chunk of your bank account from you. How many people are talking about that? How many people are talking about the issues we're talking about here on this broadcast and giving financial opinion and warning to people? How many? I don't hear a lot of people doing what we're doing.
I would say less than 1%.
Yes.
The reason why is it's one little factor. It's called greed. Telling people the truth sometimes hurts.
Yep.
Literally hurts. I had one.
Well, you know what?
You know what?
And if I were greedy, I wouldn't do this because I would want to. I would say, well, I don't want people to not give to my foundation. Maybe they won't give to my foundation. Maybe they'll be so concerned about the economy, they're like, I got to pull back on giving. Or I'm not giving at all to his, because I'm not going to give to anybody. I'm pulling everything in. I'm not going to go join his vault because I got to, save my money. Well, you know what?
Exactly.
I speak the truth, even if sometimes it hurts me, because I care about my audience and I care about truth. Okay. And I don't want it on my account or my conscience that I didn't do my job. People tune into this broadcast because they trust us to tell them the truth, even sometimes when that truth may hurt us. Meaning some of you are like, you know what, I was going to write a nice end of the year check to this guy's organization and ministry. Not going to do it. I better save. You know what? If that's what the Lord's laying on your heart, then don't write that check. Get your financial house in order. So yes, a lot of people won't say this because they're like, well, it might hurt the giving to my organization. You know what? I'm not going to be held accountable for withholding information to people when I could help them, not hurt them. Okay. Now, if you want to follow people that won't speak the truth because they want you to give to them and buy from them and telling the truth might cause that, then go listen to those kind of people. But I wouldn't trust anyone like that. And I'm not going to be that person.
You know, I had a lady from Worldview back in 2009 that called me up right after the collapse. And I had talked to her 2 weeks before it, and I warned her. I said, get into cash. Don't have to buy gold yet. Get into cash. Let's sit back, get that going right away. Her broker, her financial advisor, legitimately told her he thought I was absolutely crazy, and that he knew more than I did, was much more educated. Well, and I'll do. If you want to compare diplomas, come on, I'm ready. That's the education is not all what you learn in school. Education is what you learn on the street, and understand the fact that what we try to do here on Worldview is not get the greed in. These people talk about how they're going to make you money. We're talking about how we're going to protect and preserve what you have, not only monetarily, but also literally, physically, with certain things that you need to keep your health and life together. And what's really important when you have organizations, and I'm not plugging Worldview, I have no ownership in Worldview other than Brandon and his family are dear friends, and I watch the kids grow up, and, I can only say that the dogs both like me better. But at the end of the day, I can say that getting the information that Brandon is willing to put out to you, which costs a tremendous amount, needs support. People should support that type of effort, not support the efforts to go to a baseball game. This is important information. And what it will become even more important is when it happens and people start calling up Brandon or calling me up and saying, God, I should have listened to you back then. We're trying to tell you beforehand. We're trying to tell you to act versus react. Don't run to call people when the problem happens. Organize ahead of time. That's what Worldview is all about. That's how I look at it.
Yep. Well, we're definitely trying to predict trends and help people understand the times and rightly respond. And I'm very concerned, and I feel like President Trump has been brought in as a salesman to convince the American people that the economy is not crashing. And he tells us, and you probably have seen the clip, how great the economy is and that the utility bills are down, energy prices are down. That's not true. And I'm sorry. I came in so excited about Trump's second term, And I tell you what, a lot of people are disappointed. They're just at so many different levels. But I feel like he was brought in to sell us on the reset, to sell us that everything's great and fine when they know it's collapsing, but he keeps telling you how it's all great and fine. Well, you don't have to believe me. Go do your own homework. It's not great and fine, is it, Michael?
No, I think, again, the tariffs worked in 2016, and this time they were all ready for it. Every country was ready for it. You didn't see the rollover like in Mexico and Canada. You didn't see the rollover in China that went on so quickly. None of that happened. But we're also, one thing that wasn't mentioned today, and I'll throw this out to you. We've talked about the fact of a financial metamorphosis going on globally. We are heading into a digital world. It's like going from dial-up phones to push buttons. It's going to be happening, and it's not a matter of a year. It's not a matter of months. It's in weeks in front of us. Europe is doing it. China is doing it. Japan's doing it. And when that digital happens, coupled with this, the devaluation of the dollar is inevitable, and things are going to happen that you need to be prepared for. So it's not just what Trump is forced to sell, it's but being prepared for what he's going to be forced to do, literally.
And I would tell you again, my opinion, you better be very careful of these financial planners that want to have you locked into this system. If you want to sit there and listen to them, that's obviously your right to do. But why do you want to be locked with all your eggs in one basket? Why do you want to be locked into a system that could collapse, seems to be collapsing in my opinion, and that could be locked, you could be locked out of? Why would you not want to be in something that you have control over and that you can liquidate fairly quickly from everything I've seen and done over the years? So that's my opinion. I'll tell you finally, you guys can do business with other gold companies if you want to. I've had other gold companies that want me to talk to them, but I've been working with Swiss America, 17 years now, 18 years?
17 years.
And we don't get complaints. We don't get complaints. They've never missed a buyback since they were started, in 1982?
Yep.
So if you guys want to go deal with another company, do so. But you better understand the rates you're paying and wonder if the company you're buying from will pay you back or do a buyback from you. So I am with Swiss America and have left Swiss America for a very strong reason. I know their founder. I know their CEO. I've worked with them, and we don't get complaints. Our audience has done, and they thanked me. Thank you. I've gotten a lot of emails. Thank you for introducing me to Swiss America. They've taken good care of me. And one of our guys came in there when his house burned to the ground, and he didn't even have his driver's license. And he brought his gold from the bank deposit, the safe deposit box, and walked out of there with a check for like $264,000, right?
It actually was more than that, but yes, absolutely. It was the only thing he could get his hands on. It was the only thing that he controlled. And one thing I can say, and we appreciate, working with Brandon just as much as he does, but one of the things with consistency that we've had and working with Brandon, besides watching the kids grow up, and Logan was just a little kid running around like a lunatic. Ha ha, Logan.
He was actually running around on he was actually running around on one of those boards. What was that board? A hoverboard. He would run around the conferences on a hoverboard.
Yep. Let me just put it to you this way. Brandon House and Worldview Weekend, we talk about our consistency. We are consistent. We do everything we say we're going to do. Do we claim to be the cheapest? No. Do we want to be the cheapest? No, because the cheapest is usually the worst because they don't buy back and they tend to disappear. It's they're operating on a shoestring. You got to make money to pay your bills. But one other thing I can say, in all the 17 years I have dealt with Brandon House, he is consistent. Worldview Weekend is a consistent safe haven for people who want to get protected and get information, and it's the best place to go to get it. And if you don't help that situation, you're crazy. You really are.
Well, there's a reason why our two organizations keep working together. There you go. Get the information. It's free, no obligation packet. I mean, what do you got to lose? Get the packet, write down your questions. Call Wes or Michael back, and he'll answer all your questions. 1-877-864-1072, 1-877-864-1072. Again, 1-877-864-1072, or go to worldviewgold.com, fill out the form, get the free no obligation packet, precious metals, bullion, it's like freshly minted silver or gold, numismatic, 1933 and older, that comes with privacy, and then putting gold into your IRA. Okay, there you go, folks. All right, thank you, Michael.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought up that IRA too.
Yeah, absolutely. Go to the Dolly cam. Show Michael Dolly real quick before we call it a night. Look at that.
I sent her my picture. I sent Dolly my picture. She can keep it over by her over there.
So yeah, she has her favorite family photos and friends. You know, she's got her ball tucked right up onto her back leg there. She's guarding that ball. She doesn't want anyone else getting her ball. Yeah.
Well, probably so anyway, Logan takes it.
Oh yeah, Logan likes to take it and throw it. Oh, are you waking up? Oh, Michael's on the line. Hello, Michael.
You go. Hi, Dolly. How you doing?
All right, guys. We'll be right back.
You guys have a good evening.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Bye-bye.
Do you know about glutathione? You can't live without it. It's a naturally occurring ingredient in your body. But guess what? It starts to decrease around the age of 20. You need glutathione. There are over 165,000 studies on glutathione at PubMed. It detoxes your cells. And we know there are toxins everywhere. In fact, studies have shown glutathione may remove mercury from your brain, helping prevent Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's. Check it out at swishforlife.com. You just put a small 2 caps in your mouth, swish it for about 3 minutes. Then you can swallow it or spit it out. Studies show that this is in your bloodstream within 90 seconds. It's better than an IV. That'll cost you about $250, and it's broken down. But when you swish with it, it is in your body in 90 seconds in its totality. Glutathione, you need it to live. Swishforlife.com. Swishforlife.com.